Hello and welcome to another edition of the Digest and ELT Central's Education and Academic Workshop series. The idea behind this channel is that we give you an overview of what's expected at university and provide you with all of the basics of what you need to make the best of your time while you're studying. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to the bottom right of your screen and click the bell that will make sure you are alerted whenever another new clip drops. In this clip, we're going to explore paraphrasing and plagiarism, which are two of the most important aspects of your life at university and while you research. We'll cover what plagiarism is, the effects that plagiarism have or can have on academia and academic work, and how we can avoid such by following some simple steps regarding citing and referencing your work. Paraphrasing is putting someone else's words or ideas into your own words with your own distinctive voice. And as well as being very difficult to master, it is one of, if not the most important skills you can use while you're at university. I can assure you paraphrasing does not come naturally to anybody. Good paraphrasing takes practice, then a little more practice, and then some more practice after that. The reason we paraphrase and credit with a citation and reference is so that we don't end up using someone else's work or ideas in our own piece without being nicked for plagiarism. Plagiarism is passing someone else's work or ideas off as your own. In other words, you're stealing someone else's work, which means it's an academic integrity misconduct issue, and repeat offences can easily get you kicked out of university. I have come across some people in my line of work, and I'm not talking students here, who've stolen my work or my ideas and passed them off as their own to take credit for my work and ideas, and that is nothing less than a disgrace. That means I lose all respect for these people, and I have no respect for anything they say or do because I can't be sure what they produce is their own. These people are bluffers, and the only way they'll get on in life is through cheating. While you're at university, one of the worst things that can happen if you plagiarize is that not only could you get kicked out of university, but you'll also lose credibility, respect, and trust from both your teachers and quite possibly your peers. You will always be known as a plagiarist, and your teacher will also question the validity of your work. Let's have a look at some of the reasons that students might plagiarize. The one reason that I see is perhaps that they are simply not good enough. Other reasons are that they haven't managed their time and have left the assignment too late to complete before the deadline. Then another reason is because they see other people cheating and feel they may get left behind. Another reason, which is a shame, is because they are too lazy to complete the work themselves. This is obviously a not good enough work ethic. Another reason is they don't know how to properly paraphrase, which is why we're here now. And so this is where people want to be better. They're not quite good enough now, and so they come to people like me for help so that they can get better so they are good enough. Some people do try really hard, though they don't understand how to cite and reference properly, and so they need help to be good enough in this area too. While other people use too many quotes, which means they need to get better at paraphrasing. You might ask why we use other people's ideas anyway. Well, when we have a theory about something and we want to validate it, we rely on previous studies to support our own ideas or to refute those that we might believe are wrong. We also use it so that we understand the subject better and hopefully become more of an expert ourselves. Now we understand that in order to write an essay on a certain subject, we have to add value to our position on it. For example, if I want people to understand that I think Brexit will work, I will search for theories that will support my claims by looking into various economical studies that show the UK can stand on its own, and vice versa. If I think it won't work, then I will look in the opposite direction. Other reasons we paraphrase are: 1, so that we get a better understanding of the work we're researching. We learn it better, and that means we become more of an expert in that field of research or learning. Sometimes we also find evidence to make us change our minds, which is great because we learn something. 2, so that the original writer gets credit for their work. It's only fair if someone else has done the work before that you give them credit, that you pay them kudos. And 3, you use fewer quotes, which means more of your own words, and as you're only allowed a certain amount of quotes, normally 5%, it's important you know how to paraphrase and how to say these things in your own words. What is the process of paraphrasing? If you are at the start of your university and therefore paraphrasing journey, you need to have a thorough understanding of the work you're reading. And so the best thing to do here is read it and reread it and make sure that you understand every aspect of it. While you're reading, jot down the points that mean something to you. And I'm not talking about whole sentences here, just the bits that grab your attention. For every piece that you read and use, you will have to cite and reference the work. What you'll also notice while you're reading other people's work is that they will have cited other people too. Now, if this is an important part that you want to use, make sure you take down the names of the other people in the study as well, because they might have something relevant that you can use too. So you piggyback off other people's work essentially. Now, this is a very good tip and it will help you immensely in future assignments or research. Right, let's start with a bit of a fun one. People whose professional activity is carried out while pretending to be shot on a large patch of grass are very rarely considered to be completely trustworthy or honest. Okay, have a look at that for a few seconds and think about the whole sentence. What does it tell you? What kind of people are we looking at here, do you think? And we can say this very, very easily in 3 words. Footballers are cheats. Okay, that's enough of the fun one. Let's have a look at a proper quote. This is from a book called I Was There When We Were Crap. And the quote is, "The FA Cup final saw all 4 of us brothers at Wembley, and as usual, I cried at the poignant bit, the national anthem." We can see there that quote is in speech marks, which means it's a direct quote, which means it's lifted word for word from the book. And after that, we can see we have a space after the end quote, and then the surname, and then a comma, then a space, then the date, then a comma, then a space, then a P for page, full stop, space, 102. Then close the bracket and punctuation, which will be a comma if it's mid-sentence or a full stop at the end of a sentence. The punctuation always comes after the citation. It never comes before that. If you put the punctuation before, it means you're doing it wrong. So have a look at this and follow this guide. Now, this is an APA referencing. If we look at that sentence, think for a second about the main points of it. What does this sentence tell you? Who does it tell you was with the author? What was the occasion? When was it? What happened? Okay, so now we've got the main points. Have a go at a rewrite. Now, stop the video while you do this and take as long as you need to rephrase that sentence. The FA Cup final saw all 4 of us brothers at Wembley, and as usual, I cried at the poignant bit, the national anthem. Right, your version of this is called an indirect quote. Why is it called an indirect quote? Essentially because they're your words, but you're using my idea. Okay, of course, it's from my book. So have a quick look at yours. And does it look anything like this? Now, again, this is a paraphrase of my original work. Pacino stated that he and his brothers watched the FA Cup final of 1990 and he cried at the national anthem. So we can see there, essentially, we're saying exactly the same thing. We know what the occasion was, we know who was there, we know who he was with, and you understand what happened. He cried when the national anthem was played. What we can see here is at the end of the piece, we cite with the date. You can see an asterisk there. Why? Why isn't the name in brackets like the first quote we saw? Let's have a quick look at that again. It's because the name is at the start of the sentence, so we don't need to repeat it. And the page is not obligatory with an indirect quote. The most common mistake people make is trying to say the same sentence and changing it word for word. That doesn't work. It still has to have a smooth and natural flow to it. So changing everything word for word doesn't work because it will read poorly, it will sound stilted and unnatural. Let's have a look at a couple of examples. Okay, attempt 1. In order to adjustment the evacuation, an about-face circulation happens. Extra meticulous assistance discipline specialist evolution and a tolerable arrangement for the study room and educator. A precondition to frictionless and further scrupulous commencement to the land and civilization, so that assistants absolutely discern the description and of the endeavour, the undergraduate and the land they will carry out ascetic towards. You can see there, as a native speaker, it's difficult even to get my tongue around. Now, I understand every one of these words, but the sentences don't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I think what's gone wrong here is one of 2 things. Either the student who wrote it had a thesaurus next to him and changed the piece word for word, or more likely is that he stuck it through a synonym generator and that's come up with a bunch of gobbledygook. Right, attempt 2. In order to transmute this exodus, there has to follow a shift in distribution, more exhaustive and relative pedagogia training and professional development, and an adequate provision for the classroom and edifiers. There must additionally be a smoother and more rigorous inauguration into the country and its culture in order that edifiers plenarily understand the nature of the work, the students and the country they are going to commit themselves to. Now again, I'm fluent in English, I've got a degree in English literature, I've got a master in CSAT, I've got a master in education, and I can't understand a word of this. Now this is an absolute fail as far as paraphrasing goes. Let's have a look at the original and then have a go at this ourselves. So this is the original piece here. In order to alter this exodus, there must be a shift in delivery, there must be more thorough and relative teacher training and professional development, and an adequate provision for the classrooms and teachers. There must also be a smoother and more rigorous orientation into the country and its culture in order that teachers fully understand the nature of the work, the students and the country they are going to commit themselves to. Now, this makes perfect sense. We can understand what's happening here. So if we look at it, what's the idea of this piece? Who is it aimed at? Who does it address? What's the context? What are the needs and the pieces described for whom and where? And who are the major players here? So if we think about all those questions, again, what I want you to do in a second is stop the clip and have a bash at that yourself. So think about all these points that I've made. What's the idea? Who's it aimed at? Who does it address? What's the context? What are the needs the piece describes? For whom and where? Who are the players? What's the point of this piece? You can stop the video now and have a go yourself. Let's have a look. This is a well paraphrased piece. This is the same piece put in different words. If we are to stem the tide of teacher attrition, the way classes are taught has to change, and for that to happen, teachers need to be better trained and fully supported, with adequate provision of well-designed facilities and the tools and researches to carry out genuine teaching and learning. There also has to be a transitional period of cultural learning and introduction to the new country and culture so that teachers are better able to cope with stark changes and are more likely to stick the term out rather than leave as soon as possible. What you need to do is get the general gist of the piece first. You have to understand what it says. You have to understand why it's said, who it's aimed at, what's the point of it. Okay, in this exercise, you will need to get the general gist of the piece. Think about what it is. Imagine we're in a lecture and while I speak you take notes and you have to relay the main message of what I say to someone else. So think about what the gist of the piece is. Understand what we're looking for. Now, while you read it and make notes, think about what kind of writing it is. What does it do? Who's it aimed at? Find the main points. Okay, here we go. In order to get the best out of your child's learning, make sure you give instructions only when you have their full attention. It's important you use your child's name and encourage him to look at you while you speak. By bringing yourself down to his physical level when you speak, you become less of a dominating figure. Kids are easily distracted, so make sure there are no other distractions like a TV or phone in the room with you. As they're still quite young, always use language that your child understands and keep your sentences short and simple. A clear, calm voice will make your child relaxed and gestures will emphasize things that you want him to notice. So again, what are the main points from this piece? If you stop the video and I want you to write a list of what the main points are here. Now again, think about what the piece is trying to do. Who do you think it's aimed at? Why has it been written? What will your message say when you rewrite it? So try it. Right, the main points from this piece that I took are: give instructions while the child is listening, use your child's name, be on the same level, remove distractions, use simple language, easily understood sentences, clear, calm voice, and gestures. When we think about gestures, we're talking about facial expressions and body language and nods of the head and things like that. Right, now I want you to write your own. And again, pause the video, write your own, and then come back to it when you've finished. And let's see if it looks anything like the one I wrote. Right, my paraphrase is: the best teachers always have a child's full attention when given instructions. Children tend to react best when you use their names and you keep eye contact with them when you talk to them. By standing high above a child, you can look dominating, and so a better idea would be to sit on the floor if you need to, or kneel to keep eye contact at an equal level. If you can use a room where there's no TV and you hide your mobile phone, this will help keep them focused. Remember, you're not speaking to an adult, and so keep your language simple enough for them to understand, so use easy to digest sentences that are direct and to the point. If you want your child to stay relaxed, don't raise your voice either. Keep it smooth and constant, and use facial expressions and hand gestures, as this will teach them non-verbal communication techniques, which will add emphasis to what you teach them. And you can see I finished that with a citation. Open brackets, surname, comma, space, date, close brackets, full stop. Again, the punctuation comes after the citation. Synonyms. Synonyms are an extremely important part of paraphrasing. Now, a thesaurus and a dictionary should be your two best friends while you do your writing. It's ultra important that you understand the context of the word, because we can have the same spelling for a couple of words. So say, for example, lead and led. One is either to be at the front of, or it's a dog's leash, or it's a malleable metal. So when you paraphrase, use synonyms that are definitely in context. Another example is, I could say, it's a bright day today, it's a sunny day today. And both sentences make perfect sense. Bright is a synonym for sunny. However, we wouldn't say the children are very sunny. We would say the children are very bright. So we can see that sunny is not necessarily a synonym for bright in this instance. The points that you should remember here, the do's and the don'ts. Right, do stick to the subject. Do include the main ideas. Do rephrase what you read. Do make sure that it still makes sense. A sentence must always make sense. Do use your own words. And the no-nos? Don't just change the order of the words, because you'll end up, as we saw with the previous examples, gobbledygook. Don't use synonyms without understanding the context. Don't use exact sentences, because that's a direct quote. Again, you're only allowed 5% of direct quotes in an assignment. So where you can paraphrase, I often see young students who think, oh, well, this direct quote's okay because I haven't got any others. It's not good practice. It is good practice if you paraphrase everything. It's very rare I will use a direct quote unless it's something like this, where I'm giving it as an example. Always try to use your own words. They might not be your ideas, but try and make sure that you use your own words. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a shout. My email address is andy@eltcentral.co.uk. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the bottom right of your screen and click the bell that will make sure that you are alerted whenever another new clip drops. If there's an aspect that you want help on, you can ask me about that. As a bonus, what I will do is the first 20 people who paraphrase this, if you email it to me, I will give you feedback on it. So I'm going to leave a piece in just a moment that you can paraphrase. You can stop the video, you can have a look at it, you can paraphrase it, email it to me, and I will give you feedback on it. Now, again, I've said 20 because I could get inundated with hundreds. And so if you want to be one of the 20, make sure your work is in as soon as possible. Thanks for listening. It's been great speaking to you. Ciao for now.